Well, I tried. I tried. You'd think 1994, 25-year copyright period, it'd be fine, but it turns out actually no, not allowed. That sucks. So, that is very unfortunate actually. I also think I think that's gonna break a lot of the stream widgets. We'll see if it comes up in the chat. I don't know. I deleted the stream and whatever, so it is what it is. I guess we'll just like click around FB Ref and we'll chat and do the usual. We'll do the usual chatter. But I thought that was a fun idea. I thought that would have been fun. Oh well, what are you gonna do? Now I want to know who has copyright USA '94 World Cup. Like if I go on you, so hold on then. If I go on YouTube, right? Let's just like think about this for a second. If I go on YouTube and watch the YouTube video of that, am I breaking the copyright? Is that allowed? Because like what's the difference between that and like a reaction video? Right? Do I have to like cut I don't like let me just if I just go like Germany versus Bolivia USA '94. Like, is the whole game on here? No, it's all highlights. I don't know. I don't know. All right, whatever. Um, dude, AI's too good. AI caught that so fast. Okay, let me pick up my flow on Trinity Rodman, and then we'll just talk about whatever's going on. And if you had a question that I didn't answer that was in the chat before, please throw that in there. There's a few people who already did, so thank you for doing that. So Ben, I was talking about Trinity Rodman. So Trinity Rodman, for those unaware, I'll pull up the Athletic. We were talking about this yesterday. So Trinity Rodman signed a contract in 2022 to become the highest paid player in the league. She is very, very good. She is up for renewal this winter. And the understanding is that her contract is going to be so big that it will nuke Washington Spirit's salary cap. And the problem with this is that the NWSL is very happy with their salary cap because it evens the league out, right? Convict says any relation to Dennis Rodman. She is Dennis Rodman's daughter. They do not have a relationship, so she like doesn't like to talk about it, to talk about him. But she is his born of Dennis Rodman. So she has become this big like flashbulb of what are they going to do with their contract situation, and the like thing that this is coming to a point for the league is that the things that give you a league that has like a lot of equality are not the same things that give you the best league in the world, right? And so when you think about the Premier League has become the best league in the world because the 15th place Premier League team spends more money than Roma now. That is explicitly why the Premier League is the best league in the world. There's all the stuff with Sky and the broadcast money in the 90s and how that totally changed the sport. But like the Premier League is the best league in the world because they have the most money. So they buy the best players and the best coaches and they have the best facilities and so on, so on, so on, that the vast majority of teams in the world cannot compete. Like one of my favorite stats for Chelsea when we talk about selling players is the list of teams that have ever spent 30 million euros on a player is like 35 teams long and 22 of them or something play in England. Like there's just not that many teams that buy at that price. So when we talk about PSR and squad cost ratio and all these things, like on one hand, yes, you probably do want a flatter distribution. And the flatter distribution of money in terms of TV compared to Spain, Italy, in particular Spain, is why the 15th place team in England is so rich compared to the 15th place team in Spain, but it's also why the richest team in England is significantly less rich than Real Madrid. So you have these competing things, and like it's actually a very difficult ecosystem to balance, especially in relation to the rest of Europe and America and Saudi. Like it's a non-trivial situation is the point that I was making. But this will be very interesting for the women's game. And there's like lots of talk that she'll go to Chelsea. I think she'll end up at Lyon in France, and we'll see what happens. What MLS team do I support? Toronto FC. Let me grab something to show off my. There's a Giovinco kit, where right there from his MVP season, and I have a signed MLS Cup kit from the whole squad that a friend of mine who used to work for the club got me as a gift. I've got that on my wall. I'll fix that. But yeah, that's my MLS team is Toronto FC. Does Madrid have higher TV revenue than the top Premier League teams? It's probably not that different. They have huge commercial revenue though, and because they can't be challenged by any of the teams below them because they get no money, they cement themselves as the best team. Whereas like in England, if you have a bad year or two bad years in a row, you can be 7th, 8th, 9th or whatever in the table, and you can lose a significant amount of money. Okay, scrolling up. Andy said, "What are your favorite fantasy books?" I remember you talking about reading Sanderson. Yeah, I went on a big Brandon Sanderson binge where I read basically everything he's written, except for the Wheel of Time stuff. I have not. I've been reading the Witcher books recently. I kind of like drift in and out where I'm into it and then I'm not into it. But I've been reading the Witcher books and have been enjoying those. Maybe I need to go back before copyright 1930s era World Cups. Yeah, that would be crazy to watch. Callum Walsh said talk about Adam Wharton. So yeah, there was a lot of talk about Adam Wharton and what that's going to look like if Chelsea are interested in him. And I will be. So I think Wharton's a weird player where I like him more than I like his data. I think he has. I think he's actually a very strange player statistically because you look at kind of the big picture stuff and you're like, I don't know, this is maybe not as good as you'd think it is. But then you factor in how conservative Palace are in possession, and that's a tremendous amount of shot creation, like good shot creation, for not that much ball progression. His risk profile in terms of like the amount of risk he's taking with his forward passes is extremely high, and that's the thing I think Chelsea actually need. I think Chelsea are, in midfield in particular, profile somewhat conservative. It's one of the things in relation to Xavi Simons where I was like, I don't like Xavi Simons as a prospect for Chelsea, but I do think his willingness to turn the ball over centrally in terms of like this will be a turnover or a perfect through ball is useful to this team. At the same time, like I think for what it's going to cost to get Adam Wharton, I'm probably out. Because he's good, I think. And I think some of the stuff will scale up better to a team who will have more of the ball. But I would not pay what I think he's going to cost, if that makes sense. The other thing that kind of trips me out about him is he. Oh, this is funny. YouTube just emailed me about streams are Interrupted when copyrighted content is detected. After copyrighted material is no longer being streamed, streams are automatically re-enabled. Okay. Thanks, man. I don't really know. I'd love to know who copyrighted the USA 94 World Cup, but okay. He has not played that many minutes he's played a lot of minutes for a 21-year-old, but he frequently does not log that many minutes for someone who has been established as a senior player for quite some time. So we'll see. We'll see what that one happens. But he would not be. I like him a lot, but I don't know if he would be top of my list. The other link that came out today is Camavinga, who I'm way more into as a prospect, and as a fit for Chelsea. Like, I think he gives you. I think he is more the skew that you need for the player you want here. Where, like, I think Wharton is more Enzo than Caicedo. Like, he's a 75-25, even though he sits a lot deeper than Enzo does. I think Camavinga is like 75-25 Caicedo, Enzo, if that makes sense. And he's very good. He can play left back for you. If you like ever wanted to have him go do midfield things, like I'd much rather have him do midfield things than Cucurella, for example. Very, very good ball carrier. Like, I think Camavinga is like a can't miss prospect. Like, I would do it. Nima Desfili says wages, though. I'd pay the wages. I would not be mad about getting him. You do have the injury things as well, but like, he's really, really, really good. Really, 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 really good. So I would be in on Camavinga. Same with like Chouameni. There's a few. Let's see. I'm just gonna like keep making my way through. Can I pick up where I left off on Rodman? Yes. Talk about Estevao's game yesterday. I did not watch. I saw the goal. And it's like, I saw a lot of the comments about Estevao afterwards, and like, Estevao is very good. Like, there's not that much else to say. I think Maresca's being pretty smart and disciplined about how much he's playing and using him responsibly to not burn him out like Yamal. But he's really good. Like, the guy's a freak at 18. The level of production that he has per minute when he plays is obscene. He scores, he creates shots. He's been so much better defensively than I ever could have dreamed of. Like, the kid works his ass off. There's not that much else to say. Adam Ring says, just before you went down, I was asking for your thoughts on the Irish team and our chance of making it through the playoffs. I think comparatively low, to be honest with you. So you have to win a two-legged tie, and then you have to win a final, right? Like, if it was just two-legged tie, maybe. But like, you look at this team. This is a team who loses to Portugal and gets like the brakes beaten off of them. They lose to Armenia. They draw Hungary before that. They have consistently had a lot of trouble scoring goals. They drew Luxembourg. I just don't think they're that good as a team. You know what I mean? So if you get lucky with the draw, maybe. But I don't think I don't think you're super happy about this. Well, I think you're super happy about being there, but I don't think the possibility they qualify it's obviously higher, but I don't think it's super likely. Probably like 35%, maybe, depending who you get. You'll also be one of the weaker teams, and it is seeded because you went through on a very low points total. Talk about the front of shirt sponsor. So, what's his name? What's the account? Lou Class. Yeah. His thing was Chelsea are going to get Oracle as the shirt sponsor. It's going to be significantly less than the club initially expected. I've seen other people say 30 instead of 50. It's only going to go till the end of the season. I've heard whispers that there's an option for next year at a higher number for Oracle that they can take before the end of the season. I mean, they have to get something on the kit, and I suppose 30 million for 2/3 of the season is better than nothing. But it's like I brought it up before the season that they totally bungled this, not getting it done before the year. Just totally bungled it. Because as soon as the season starts, like there's now apprehension. You have a ticking clock of like, well, it's another game. We don't have the name on the thing, and I think that Clear Lake came in and we're like, we are so smart. And I've told this story on stream before, but I know someone who had done a lot of work with Clear Lake in like Clear Lake's investing stuff as a lawyer. And this person told me like the whole thing on Clear Lake is that they had a very narrow thing that they were really good at, and they made a ton of money in a decade where basically everyone in private equity made a ton of money. And as they have kind of sniffed their own farts and drifted out of their area of expertise, they have made progressively less money. And I am always weary of someone who comes in and says, like, we're the smartest people in the room. And, like, sometimes you're not. So I think they have, in some ways, improved some things. But I think in others, they've gotten them very wrong. Adam JKD says they're both 1-game ties. No, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's a 2-legged tie and then a 1-legged tie. No, you're right. It is single legs. All right. I definitely read 2 single leg as 2-leg. Well, I guess 2 games, anything can happen. I'd rather it be 1 game. Who are you going to get, though? Norway will win their group. What is Q? Q team qualified directly. Team advanced to playoffs. So S. So you want A and S? I don't know. This is so confusing to me. I don't know what's going on here. Well, we'll see. Romania, Sweden, Northern Ireland, like you could do worse. Ireland, I don't know where they'll be. I'm sure we'll check this at the end of the day, but it is what it is. Tom Coley says, can you talk about your coaching journey and any tips for starters? Yeah, I can. So I played college for 4 years. And by my like second year, I was like, I'm not that good, but I like soccer a lot. And so I started coaching at a kids academy. So I was coaching like 6 to 13-year-olds kind of twice a week. And it was like the sessions were like kind of pre-provided. Like you would turn up and you'd get a handout and you'd run the exercise that was given to you. Sorry. And then as I got a little bit more comfortable, the guy who was running the academy was like, okay, you kind of know what you're doing. Like, I want you to pick one exercise this week, and it's going to be your exercise, and you're going to design it. And then it was like, okay, you're kind of designing your own sessions. And the biggest thing early on was like, I just watched a lot. I'd watch other people coach. I would look stuff up. I would steal exercises, and then I would do them, and a lot of them would suck. And the biggest thing that was really helpful for me was every single session, I would take 20 minutes. I would get a coffee at this like coffee shop that was outside of the dome because it was in the winter. And I would take 20 minutes and I would just like write 1 page of like, this is the exercise we did. This is what I liked about it. This is what I didn't like about it. This is what I will change the next time I do it. And I did it for every exercise, whether it was mine, whether it was someone else's, doesn't matter. And I would just like reflect, okay, I liked this, I didn't like this. This is what I would change. And then the next time I would do it, I would implement the changes, and then I would iterate and reflect. And then you start having like, okay, I want to work on A. I have 4 exercises that work on A. For this group, this is the best one. And then my senior year, there was like a huge car accident, and none of the coaching staff could, like, they were stuck on the highway. They couldn't come to training. So I got to run training for the college team I was playing for. My coach called me. He's like, here's the session plan, like run training over the phone. And I ran training, and it went like pretty well. And the players were like, oh, that was like a really good practice. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'm in. And then I took a U21 boys team that summer, and we were horrific. We were so bad. We had like 0 good players. I think one player from our whole squad ended up playing university football. And that was like kind of it. Our goalkeeper is pretty good, actually. He played university football. And we were terrible, but we beat some of the teams that were much better than us because we played decent football. And by the end of that summer, I got an assistant coaching job with the university. I did that for a few years, and we were very good. We had a lot of success. And then in the university season here runs in the fall. So then in the summer, you kind of go do club football. And then after a year, I went to coach a semi-pro team at a different club. That was like, I was coaching players older than me, which was pretty interesting. But like along the way, it was just a lot of see an exercise in a YouTube video from a Tuchel session or a Bielsa session or a Pep session or whatever, steal that exercise and then try it, see what I like, what I don't like, iterate it, be better. Like there are exercises that we did forever and they sucked at the beginning and then they're better. And then the other thing is like, I don't know if I still have access to it. Let me see if I can find it in Notion. I don't know if I still have my access to this, so we'll see. I don't think I do, but we'll find out. We'll find out if I do. Where did this go? Notion, sure. No, see, I don't think I have it anymore. I used to have this app called Notion, which is like it's like just a logging app. And I had every single session in there. I'm sure I could find the old login for it, but I had every single session in that I've ever done. And we had like schedules and everything. And the biggest like thing that I highly recommend to every single person is like just be so organized. Think about, I have an hour and a half. This is the equipment I'm going to have at the field. This is how many players I'm going to have. This is how much space I'm going to have. This is how long we're going to do this exercise for. This is how many blocks of that exercise we're going to do. This is the coaching point that I want to make during the exercise. This is the coaching point I want to make in between exercises. This is what the transition is going to be and how I'm going to set up the cones to move from one exercise to the next. And it sounds like maniacal, the amount of effort. But the biggest thing is, if you're like that, where, hey, I know that we have the pitch for an hour and a half. I'm going to be super respectful of your guys' time, that we're here. We start exactly if we're training at 9 p.m., at 9 p.m. we start the session. The warm-up is exactly 11 minutes or whatever it is. You have 90 seconds between the next exercise to explain it, whatever. We're running that block for 12 minutes with 30-second rest periods or 1-minute rest periods for 15 minutes total. And there's like transition, you move to the next exercise, you move to the next exercise, and all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, we trained for an hour and a half and we're like we did exactly all the things we want to do. That standard, you can then hold the players to that standard because you hold yourself to that level. And all of a sudden you get young boys and girls where, again, there are players we had that were like, we recruited at 16 years old, young women came to university to play in university. And now like you watch them run a kid session, the same thing that I was doing at 20 years old. And they're like so dialed in. And even in their personal life, they're so dialed in that I think it becomes really, really helpful. And I don't mean this as like, you don't have to be like, what's the thing Seb says, play dare, play dare. You don't have to be that at all. You don't have to be that at all. But the structure of things needs to be really dialed in. And then like you can let them play. You can coach as much or as little depending on your style. But the session needs to be structured or else people take the piss. And especially for young players, like if you're working with 13-year-olds, like the second there is 30 seconds of unstructured time, those 13-year-olds are smashing balls into the goal and they're like off in another planet and they're gone and you will not get them back. So I think it really matters. Fuzzbrain says, what position did you play? I was a goalkeeper. When I played, I was like not very good, but I was a goalkeeper. I also took penalties, so sometimes I came on as a striker if I wasn't playing that game. Top 4 movies or 4 last movies watched. I have not watched anything particular. I watched the last 4 that I've watched. I watched The Phoenician Scheme, the Wes Anderson movie. I watched One Battle After Another, the Leonardo DiCaprio movie. I really enjoyed that. I watched the new Jurassic Park, which was not very good. And I watched what was the other one that I watched? I don't know. That's the last 3 that I can remember. Oh, I watched Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby as well. Convex CFC, we won't be able to shift Lavia because he's broken. Would I invest in a center midfielder in January given Asugo's nowhere to be seen? Well, Asugo's injured. He had quad surgery. I don't know what the timetable is on Asugo's return to play. Expected to return January 2026. We'll see about that. I would look into it if you could find a quote unquote market opportunity. Nick says Estevao better play versus Barcelona and Arsenal, though I don't care. I think you need to be smart about those two. But yeah, probably. At least one of them, right? Where do I stand on Hato? How do I see him developing? Does he develop less because he's already 100 pro games deep, or how does that influence his potential in your opinion? So I think on Hato, the big thing is there's a lot of mental things that need to improve, like his judgment of that is a very high wage number that I do not believe. If that's real, I like this deal significantly less. Holy cow. That can't be real. Really? Now, Capology is very dodgy. Let's see. If that's a real number. Oh. If that's a real number, there's some players below him on this list who need to renegotiate their deals. Holy smokes. Again, Capology, very dodgy. We know some of these numbers are real. We know some of them aren't. So on, so on, so on. That's a gargantuan number. In terms of Hato's development, the things that I think he really needs to work on. One, his in-possession stuff is ropey a lot of time. A lot of bobbly passes. A lot of like line breakers that aren't really there. I think that stuff will just like improve with time. The things that I'm more like, okay, whatever, is just his judgment of like when to be aggressive into people's back, when he has to like lay off to give himself space, when his angles to defend crosses in the box are pretty poor. Like I think one of the things I said in his video was um I think one of the things I said in his video was like he's very reliant on his physical talents, and when you come to the Premier League everyone is physically talented. Uh and I think that's true. I think that's true, and that will come with a learning. But I'm not I think he's been fairly poor, but I'm not worried, if that makes sense. And that's okay. Um, How do I think the 100 games deep impacts his development? I don't think so, right? Like I think especially when we're talking about like decision making things, right? Like a lot of that comes not with it does come with games, but it also comes with like the maturity of being an adult, as it were. Vasterart says it took time for Rudiger. He's 19. Yeah, that's part of it, right? So I'm not worried. Convex CFC thoughts on the stadium conundrum. The same as they are every week. Like I don't see a world where it's financially viable to redevelop Stamford Bridge, and I don't know enough about London real estate to really speculate on anything other than that. Um, but like the global construction market is extremely inflated. And if you look at like the return on investment, 25 year it's a 25-year break even period for anyone choosing to make it. Like if the stadium wasn't going to happen under Roman Abramovich, who Chelsea was a vanity project, like he was not looking to run the club profitably. Not that Clear Lake have shown really any indication of trying to run the club profitably. I don't see a world where that happens. But I do think there is a world where you spend £1 billion on a stadium and it increases the value of the club by more than £1 billion. I could see that. But I don't know. Let's see. Do I have any interest in doing a squad breakdown for other Premier League teams? Nah, not really. When do you think we can start competing for the Premier League? It feels like we're close, but also so far away. It's weird. Yeah, somebody sent me a video of how like Chelsea are both very close and very far away from another YouTuber person. I can't remember who it was. And I thought it hit a lot of the right notes that like if you look at the underlying data and like I'm going to do a video later. I can't remember where did I post it? Yeah, this. So like I'll do a proper podcast episode, right? About kind of we're at the 1/3-ish marker. What does the data look like when we parse out the right cards? And I'll do like a 20-minute podcast episode later. But I think when you look at kind of the big picture underlying stuff, you're like, oh, this team is like pretty good. Like not that far away. Like it's really, it's getting there-ish. But I think like the big thing for me is like you just need to get 20 more goals and you probably need to concede 5 fewer and then you're like a real title team. And a lot of that is like every summer it feels like, oh, can we upgrade at winger? I think right now like I think João Pedro and Liam Delap are not going to score enough goals to be your nines to do that. But like again, you look at all the players who are playing significant minutes, 24 minutes, 24 years old, 27 years old, 25 years old, 24 years old, 27 years old, 24 years old, 26 years old, 25 years old. Like these guys are, other than Cucurella, who is like peak age, and Sanchez, who is peak age, like all these guys are early peak or middle peak at most. No one is post peak in this team. And there's a lot of guys in here who, in theory, should improve, right? Like Josh is only going to get better. Estevao is only going to get better. Gittin, Santos, Palmer, whatever are only get. These guys are only going to get better. So we will see. When do we get there? I don't know. Do we get there? I don't know. Do we know? Who's my favorite player that doesn't have good data, but I think would be good for Chelsea? I mean, ideologically, there aren't players with bad data that I think would be good for Chelsea because, like, I think only good players have good data. Let me rephrase that. I think there are bad players with good data, but I don't think there are good players with bad data, if that makes sense. Like, I have never, and I would be curious if anyone in chat has any opposition to this. I am yet to find a player in the 10 years that I have like engaged with both expected goals and football that has had really bad underlying metrics and was actually a good player, like a really good player. I have never. There are players who have really good data and are frauds, but I don't know if there's anybody that comes to mind that I'm like, this player has bad data that I think is actually good. I think if there was someone who had bad data but is actually good, it would probably be like a center back or something. No, like he pops on the passing stuff. It would probably be like a non-passing center back who I think is probably pretty good, or a low volume ball progression midfielder, but is really good. Somebody said Bruno Fernandes, but like I think Bruno Fernandes has unbelievable data, and I think Bruno Fernandes is very good. I don't know. There's nobody that like. There's nobody comes to mind. Like somebody in chat was like Tonali. Tonali is great, and Tonali had bad data, but I don't think Tonali had bad data. I think he had okay data. It was like just not representative of the price. Somebody said Wijnaldum. I'd have to go back and look at like the Liverpool years, but I bet you his stuff in the Liverpool years was like actually pretty good. Maybe not from like an XG/XA perspective, because that's pretty low. If you made me guess, it would be guys like Firmino, who are like, again, Firmino's pretty good. Like you'd be happy with this. I think that they make the rest of the team work. But this is like, you'd be really happy with this. If Chelsea had a 0.6 XG plus 6A striker for 8 years, everybody would be pretty happy about that. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that question. When judging wingers, you've talked about key metrics, shot volume, carries into the box. Could I do the same for strikers? Yeah, I have a list of things that I largely care about for strikers, and we can go through them. It's more nuanced because it's very role dependent, but like I want lots of shots. I ideally want my striker to be north of 3 shots per game. And I ideally want him to be upper quartile or upper third in terms of shot quality. So if you can be like a 0.15 or higher XG per shot guy, or a 0.2 XG per shot guy, and take 3 shots a game, I'm in. I almost don't care about anything else if you do those two. And there's like, the more other stuff you do, the more I can forgive shot volume, or the more I can forgive like less valuable shot taking. But like those are the two that I almost look at and close my eyes at everything else. Like there are other guys like Jonathan David, who Jonathan David is a comparatively low shot volume striker, 2.2. but he has pretty reasonable XG per shot and does a whole load of passing and a whole load of defending that you're like, okay, I'm cool with this. Um, and or you look at like Kai Havertz, who like everybody hates, but I will always love Kai Havertz because Kai Havertz is like a metrics monster who just puts up really huge underlying metrics across like a million different things. Nicholas Jackson, another one, lower shot volume, but puts up a whole bunch of stuff. But in an ideal world, like if you want my perfect forward, it's Harry Kane. Like he just shoots a ton, they're good shots, and he links play, and he defends a little bit, and so on, so on, so on. But really, it's shots and XG per shot, and if you put those two together. Nima Desfili says, shocker of a season for Jonathan David so far. Yeah, I mean, I think Juventus are pretty terrible, and they also don't attack, is the other thing. Because, like, his XG plus XA is not terrible in the minutes he's played. Like, it's a little bit low, but Juventus don't do anything. Like, they're like 15 XG in 11 games for Juventus is criminal. They're not good. And somebody brought up Osimhen. Like, yeah, Osimhen's another player that I'm like, yep, cool. But I skew. I think you want either extreme because it really impacts what you want from your wingers, right? Like if you have Osimhen, 99th percentile goals, 99th percentile XG, 99th percentile shots. That's comical, by the way. But first percentile pass attempted, 30th percentile pass completion, first percentile progressive passes. Like he does nothing but shoot the ball. You then want wingers who are like much more shot creators. But if your striker is Jonathan David, Kai Havertz, Olivier Giroud, link play guys that connect, they create shots for other people, then you want Salah wingers. You want wide forwards, right? And that changes your squad construction. One of the things that I quite liked about until Chelsea got rid of got rid of Jackson rather, was I thought between João Pedro, Jackson, and Delap, you had three really nice profiles where you had Delap is like, I do nothing but shoot the ball. Like his shot volume is low, but when you place that in the context of everything else, like he doesn't touch the ball ever. And at Ipswich, he was like basically average by shot volume, but he did not touch the ball ever. Like 9th percentile touches, 50th percentile shots, really good. Like that's great. João Pedro is like drop, link, create shots for other people. Jackson is the in between that he does some linking and he does some shooting. And you had all three. And I really liked that. But now you just have like the two extremes, and one of those extremes is a much better player than the other extreme. So it's a bit of a weird situation. Have I watched any video on Diner Ordonez? I have not. And I will not because he's a child. And that's weird. No, I have no. He's also not joining for 2 years. I'll watch video in 2 years when he's played against real players and not youth football. I mean, why not? YouTube have already got me once. What are they gonna do? Where's Daniel Ordonez? This is why Chelsea signed. I'm gonna watch the 4-minute one. And I'm gonna make it smaller because I don't want. I don't think it matters what view I'm in. He seems large, which is good. But also, like, large 16-year-olds are not always large 25-year-olds, if you know what I mean. He just seems very large for a human being, to be fair. Good block. Yeah, I don't. Sure. Very large human being, but he moves his feet okay. He has a bit of the Yerry Minas to him. Like he's so big that he like moves weird because he's big. But this is like I don't know anybody. I don't. Yeah, so like, but so stuff like this, right? You're like, oh, he's a progressive passer, but like, what is this player gonna do with this pass? Like, it's bounced in at his shin. So yeah, I mean, maybe he actually there's like a little bit of Dan Burn there, but again, it's just because he's so tall. Yeah, I mean, whatever. He's a 16-year-old kid. Like, sure, he seems worth taking a punt on, but I just don't. It depends what you paid, and like the conversation I had yesterday was like, so somebody said to me, um, that football needs options for young players, which like some teams have done, and I think Chelsea it would behoove them to do. It would probably be cheaper, but I think people would be really mad. Um, so we'll see. ZZZ says, "Is there anything there with Troy Parrott?" We talked about Troy Parrott before we got. Well, let's see. Like his though, there's a lot of penalties in there, but no, like his numbers for Alkmaar are pretty good, man. Like there's again, it's Holland, so you gotta squint and look at the Netherlands of it all. Um, but I think like low end Premier League, like yeah, I can totally see that. I can totally see that. Um, Vastort says he played U20 at 15 years old for sure, but again, there's a lot of adverse incentives in South America to play young players, um, particularly at the age group level where it doesn't impact your first team. Better Out says at 2 million it's a good punt. At 20 million it's a terrible punt. I worry we're closer to the second. This is the thing, right? Like if it's sub 4 million, sure, sure. Vastor says, look at Jan Diamande. I have no Diamande thoughts. It's a lot of dribbling. It's a lot of successful take-ons. Yeah, there's not a lot of minutes in there. So like dive in at your peril is how I will describe this. Progressive carries 7, successful take-ons 4.5. What was Giddy at? Less, reasonably less. Yeah, I'd be curious. I'd be curious. It's a little bit early. I would not have been mad if we'd done this in the summer for a much lower price than Jamie Gittins. Transfer market. What did he move to Leipzig for? Yeah, I would have been not mad if we did it at that price compared to Gittins. Yeah, sure. Why not? I think there's a lot of hot air in those underlings, but it's not bad. Low key Jackson looks so much better than Havertz at Chelsea for some reason. Well, I mean, it's a little bit different. I think Havertz would have looked very good under Pochettino. Very, very good under Pochettino. How does Elliot Anderson look in a midfield three with Enzo and Caicedo, Palmer, right winger two? I am lower on Elliot Anderson than others. We've talked about him on stream quite a bit. Um, I am reasonably skeptical of do everything players from worse teams scaling up to better teams. I think I think like it's just a little hard to do that when you play for a much better team. Particularly when like you're gonna play a bunch of teams that are now not gonna be open for you to pass through. Like I think about this with Wharton a lot, right? Like Wharton has a crazy risk profile playing through balls, but like a lot of those through balls aren't gonna be there because you're just not gonna get those transitions for Chelsea the way you do for Palace. Um, yeah, I mean, again, Elliot Anderson is like I do it at a reasonable number, but the price is not going to be reasonable. I'm like pretty once players are in the Premier League, unless there is a circumstance reason that you can get a really good price on them, right? Like Garnacho with United, where Emery was like, I don't want him. I'm in on that deal. Or somebody gets relegated and you can get a reasonable deal. Or a free transfer or PSR shenanigans. Like Brighton getting Yankuba Minte or Forest getting Anderson in the first place uh, or whatever. Like I'm broadly once they're in the league, it's a lot of money to move Premier League teams. So I think you're better off doing something else with your money there. Um, Burst Media says, any thoughts on Bradley Carnell? That's a deep cut. So for those who don't know, Bradley Carnell is the manager of the Philadelphia Union, who won the Eastern Conference and the Supporter Shield in MLS this year. Um, he was last season unceremoniously fired by St. Louis FC, who were run by a former match fixer and genuinely one of the worst. Like, you guys think Win Stanley and Lawrence Stewart are bad? Lutz Pfannenstiel is the worst club administrator on the planet. He was the first player to play in each of the 6 continental associations. He hails himself as the guy who found Firmino at Hoffenheim because he found him in Football Manager. He spent time in jail in Singapore for allegedly fixing a match. He was the sporting director at St. Louis, and like their first year they were good in that they won a lot of games, but they were XG frauds. Like they had a plus 25 goal difference on a -5 expected goal difference because what's his name? Roman Berkey, the old Dortmund keeper, had a blinder. He then hired Olaf Melberg, who was like a horrible fit for the team. Anyways, just like so bad at his job, got fired. He now works at Aberdeen, I think. Yeah, he went to jail for 101 days for match fixing. He kidnapped the Penguin. Yeah, he's just like really bad. Um, he's really bad. Anyways, he fired Bradley Carnell. Bradley Carnell then left and got a much better job. And has done a good job with the Union. The thing that he has done really well is he basically just says, I am going to do exactly what my general manager tells me to do. And he's like, I'm going to coach exactly the style you want me to do. And that's what I'm going to do. Bad Rabbit says, sorry, he kidnapped the Penguin. And ZZ says, yeah, Lutz Pfannenstiel, very interesting character, that man. Yeah, legal and health issues. Match fixing in Singapore, kidnapped a penguin, kept it in his bathtub. Yeah, he's a very strange guy. He also, MLS has the designated player rule. You have 3 players you can pay above the salary cap. His team didn't have those, and he said, yeah, we have designated team. That was what he said. That was his comments. And then they got the brakes beaten off of them. But I think Carnell's an okay coach. I don't think he's anything special, but he is. I think he's like pretty good at like following instructions. Is how I would describe his abilities. I was looking at left back to do better than Cucurella, and I was thinking maybe we take the risk with Alphonso Davies if he's available. So my thing with Davies is that one, he is coming off of a very, 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 very serious injury. He just signed a new contract with a huge wage bump. And he's basically never healthy for a season. So I would not put significant investment into him as a player. He's good, but we'll see. Any worlds where we bin Tosin? I'd be surprised, but you never know. Batter Up says, found it fun to notice the other day that Garnacho and Gittins have similar minutes this season, almost identical carries into the box stat. Yeah, I think one of the things particularly about Chelsea is that, let me see this. Possession. Toggle penalty. Carries into the penalty area. Four for Garnacho. And Gittins is Gittins is 3, but I imagine if you include the cups and stuff in there, it's fine. It's about the same. I think Maresca said at one point, like, we will create 1v1s for the wingers, and then it's up for you to do the thing, which I think is very true for this team. Nimedes Philly says, look at Wilfred Singo. Monaco to Galatasaray, started scouting him, could be interesting. Yeah, he's a little bit old for playing in Turkey. Some nice center back numbers. Pretty big guy. I was going to say, I remember him playing at Monaco and being like decent. So something has clearly gone wrong in there. Kima Andres and Saeed Al-Mala. Let's see. Kima Andres. Is it this guy? Kima Jose. Why does he go by Kima? Jose Maria Andres Bashali at Stuttgart. It's a lot of passes and that's a lot of ball wins. Interesting. Yeah, this is like okay. I would if we were doing the Football Manager thing, like he would go in the short list. He would go in the short list for sure. And what was the other one? Saeed Al-Mala. Small mins, but that's a lot of XG. A lot of sub effects in here. And a lot of his XG from 2 games. So you got to be mindful of that. But Colne are weak. That's not terrible. Again, it would be firmly in the like keep an eye on category. Not tomorrow, but in the keep an eye on category. Onana, Caicedo, Enzo would be crazy. Yeah, Onana I would like a lot. Baliba looks interesting, even though he's been asked recently. I think Baliba is in the firmly too expensive category. Am I worried that Disasi is going to eat Josh's minutes? I also find it insane that Maresca's frozen Josh out for playing good. I don't think Josh is frozen out, and I don't think Disasi is going to play. I've wondered what the John Terry reaction is. I can't tell you. It doesn't work anymore. So I actually don't know. I actually think it's the unlucky clip. Like Lucas Moura saying unlucky, but I don't know why it's called that. But I don't know actually, so I guess I'll just remove it. Yeah, that I don't know, sucks for you. I don't know what it is either. Okay, I just got an email from the CPO, from the Chelsea Pitch Owners Association, that there need to be 6 nominations for the shareholder base to the club for the fan advisory board. Guys, should I try and be one of the people for the fan advisory board? I don't think I can because I'm not in England. I'll do it. I'll do it. So when are we starting the set pie of prop law? 30.34 XG plus 6A in the Champions League doesn't look bad for a 17-year-old on Kyra. Yeah, I am pretty impressed. He also scored against Belgium the other day. Like, again, the framing that I have used previously is being able to look not out of place, is being able to look not out of place as a child is like very good. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see what this says. Oh, I got to email them about it. Hold on. How do I do this? I don't want to dox my email. Actually, yeah, well, whatever. My email, I don't care. But I don't want to dox the emails that are in my email. Okay, I'm not going to show it. It's fine. Go look at Pedro Neto's FB ref sell this guy to Saudi. Yeah, we've looked at it. His data is like fairly mid. Who should we get to help right wing when Kenda goes to Strasbourg? I don't know. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. You would be significantly better if you did literally anything else with your right wing minutes. Has any madman found translation from the Kazakh league yet? No, we're just dice rolling here. Not sure if we've covered this, but Disasi at center back is not bad. Yeah, I wanna talk about Disasi because there was like he trained with the first team over the winter, or over the international break. Disasi, when he plays center back, is like a perfectly cromulent, useful player. He's a dog shit right back. He's not a good fullback. He's a very solid and respectable center back for many years. He's not a fabulous passer, but he is a good passer. Like 5-4 progressive passes at center back is like not terrible. Like he's very good in the air. His long passing is quite good. He's not a great in between lines guy, but he's a good switch guy. Like he's a fine and useful player. I would rather have him play than Tosin play at center back, to put it in context. He's also a demon on attacking set pieces. Like his whole career, 2 goals, 3 goals, 3 goals all the time. Just like 1, 2, 3 here, there. I think Disasi is like a perfectly useful player. I actually am very surprised Chelsea have found it as hard to move him on as they have. Because I think he's like not bad. Right back sucks, but I think he's a fine center back. Thoughts on Mainu? Is he worth a punt? Mainu does not interest me. Unless the thing I would do for Mainu is that I would go to Mainu and I would go to United and I would say, we will take him on loan for 6 months with an option to buy at some low number. Like if you said we'll pay £5 million to loan him for 6 months and we can get him for 35 million option, I would do that. I think I would do that. 5 million loan, we'll pay his wages obviously, and we get an option for 35 at the end of that. I would do that. because then you get 6 months to like try him out a bit, see him how he works for you, see how he fits in your whatever, and then decide. I don't particularly like Mainu. I don't think he's that good. I think like all of this is like fluff that he does an okay job at to cover up the fact that he's really bad at this and he's really bad at this. I do think actually as like a kind of Enzo-y guy who arrives in the box a lot, there's something there. But I don't think he's like the deeper midfielder. So I would probably do that. Thoughts on Pio Esposito with Inter Sebastiano Esposito. That's not the guy you want. Where's Inter? Oh, that's gonna go to Inter. That's not what I want. It's not the right Esposito. Where are you? Where's the real Esposito? Which Esposito is it? Because they have two, and neither of them look that good. Oh, that's Club World Cup. I was like, that's not that high a goal number. Francesco Esposito. That's not that high. I really liked Marcus Thuram the summer he moved to Inter, but now I think it's been too long. Andrew Bonny is a Seb guy who really liked him. Lautaro is great. Yeah, I'm not itching to do any of those guys now. Josh minutes better not be taken by disaster. Yeah, I don't think they are. I don't think they're going to, right? Like I don't think I know Josh hasn't played a few games in a row, but I don't think he's being frozen out. Look at Akliush or Akliush. I don't know. He's good, but probably not for Chelsea. Probably just not the position of need for Chelsea. Is Benoit and Wes your first choice for Barcelona Arsenal? I would not play both of them both games because they cannot physically. I think I would probably manage those two games as Trev and Benoit against Barcelona. Why Trev and Benoit against Barcelona? Because I want two passers to play into depth beyond Barca's offside trap. But against Arsenal, I think we're going to end up just playing direct all the time. So I would go Trev and Wes for Arsenal, probably. My guess is it will be Trev and Benoit for Barcelona, and it'll be Tosin and Fofana for Arsenal to defend set pieces, and we will lose to Arsenal. That's what I would guess. Would I consider Josh midfield minutes? No, I don't agree with Maresca that Josh can play in midfield. I don't think that's viable. Vassarot says thoughts on Hamza Igamane. He's the guy who played for Rangers, if I recall correctly. It's a lot of XG. It's a lot of XG in pretty low minutes. So that's, I don't know. That's pretty fun. And he's young. Maybe. Again, firmly in the like, let's see later. Lots of 6 profiles with relatively low years on their contract. Mainu, Siddiqui, Ayari, Martel, Hackney. Yeah, like I don't think all these guys are that good, to be honest with you. I also I firmly don't think Mainu is a 6. Like he's not, to me, not a defensive midfielder. I saw a clip somebody posted about Buati because he's playing for one of the youth French teams. I really again, he's 18 years old and being able to stay on the pitch in a good league is a very good sign for your future as a player, and all those things are true. But I watch Buati and I'm just like, I don't know, sure. I'm very blah about him. Big Les, I think will get a move if Burnley go down. I think they will immediately sell him for close to profit, if not profit. I like Big Les. Ish. Ish. Who's the other one? Martel. I don't know Martel. Eric Martel? It's a lot of defensive actions and not a lot of anything else. But Colner, not great. It's a lot of ball winning. And then who's the other one? Hayden Hackney. Vastart says Arthur Avon. We talked about Arthur Avon last stream. I quite like the data on him. Yeah, Hayden Hackney got some. That boy got some numbers. That boy got some real ball progression juice. He's probably like, I personally, if Chelsea were like, hey, Middlesbrough, we'll give you 18. Like, I don't know what his like Hayden Hackney transfer market. I type in trans and then transfer market pops up, and so it's like, one day there's gonna be all these rumors about these players being trans. 20 million. Like, if I would pay 20 million for Hackney as like a, yeah, come in January, you'll play 6 months, and like either we'll sell you in the summer to somebody else in the Premier League, or maybe you stick as a squad player. Like, I'd be totally down to that. Nathan DeCat. Elliot Sherman says, why don't we sign more guys from the Championship? I actually think we should sign more guys from the Championship. Like, the data is actually pretty. The league translation data from the Championship to the Premier League is actually pretty strong. Like, if you're a really good Championship player, it kind of translates at like 75%, like pretty clear. Like, you can look at Jared Bowen, for example, and a couple other guys, Dewsbury Hall, so on, that had really strong Championship metrics and how those translate. Like, what I think Chelsea should do somewhat more of is churn their squad player spots as player trading. Like, the core guys in your team should not be player trading guys, but your squad players probably should be player trading guys. Whether that's guys coming from the academy that you're like, yeah, we're going to get you like 300 minutes, then 900 minutes, then 1600 minutes, and then either you're going to be a starter or we're going to sell you. Like, that pathway for academy guys, I think is very sustainable. Nathan DeCat. I don't know, not much that I love in the data there. Who's the other one we were talking about? Arthur Avon. Avpa. Yeah, like, this is another one that I'm like, yep, I'd have no problems bringing this in at a reasonable fee in January, and you bring him in, and you're like, okay, cool, come in, 6 months, you'll play a little bit, and we'll move you for decent money in the summer, or you'll stay, and it is what it is. Like, I would totally fine with that. Adam Knows Ball says, do I think the ACL will cook Colwill? He wasn't the quickest before. I think actually the players who are maybe less reliant on their physical attributes handle the transition out of it. But also, like, we're at a point now in terms of like ACL rehab science where within 18 months of the injury, most guys, it's like pretty, particularly young players, it's pretty undetectable. Like, it's, I don't know. I look at myself. So, like, the first week of December is 6 months for me since I tore mine. I'm at like 70% of my strong leg at 6 months. And I am like, I do physio twice a week, and then I do one lift outside of physio. And like, I'm taking my rehab seriously, but seriously for like a normal person. Colwill is lifting every single day, is doing physio every single day. Everything in his life is focused around his knee recovery. Like, I don't have a ton of worries. Um, I don't have a ton of worries about his rehab coming out of this. Banter says, "How is your rehab going?" I'm in like phase two. So there's three phases to the rehab. So the first phase is like healing. It has a different name, but it's like healing the actual graft. So letting like where you have the bone, because you have to drill into your bone, letting the bone heal and letting the graft heal, and just like making sure the body is healed and starting to build strength. Phase two is all strength building. So it's a lot of weightlifting. I am so at 3 months, I could leg press with my left leg 75 pounds. At 6 months, I can leg press with my left leg 250 pounds. My left leg was my injured leg. Um, I'm squatting 225, which is like not that far below what I was squatting before injury. I'm trying to think what other ones that I know the weight off. Like it's like it's pretty good for 6 months in terms of weights. And then the last phase is return to sport, which is like kind of starts at 6-7 months and is very focused on um is very focused on like jumping, landing, pivoting, twisting, um, like sports relevant movements, plyometrics, all that sorts of stuff. Where um, it's much more movement based than it is strength based. And so like, but that stuff like I cannot do it all. Like when Estevao scored the winner against Liverpool, I jumped off my couch and I thought I was gonna die. I thought I was gonna die from jumping off my couch. So like strength wise, it's coming, but movement wise, no. Movement wise, no. Do, 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 do. How highly do I rate Tyreek George? I think Tyreek George is a very funky prospect to evaluate because I think his athleticism for like top end outcomes is just too low. He's like too slow and too awkward in his body. At the same time, he looks like he's grown 5 inches in the past year. So you could tell me in 18 months that he's a demon physically. I will say my thoughts on Tyreek George are mostly that if I was the director of football at Chelsea, I would not be opposed to selling him, but I'd want a lot of insurance if he blows up. I'd want buybacks, I'd want sell-on clauses. I would much rather, given he is under 21 and homegrown, which means he does not take up a loan spot, I would much rather loan him for a year somewhere where he's going to play 2,500 minutes and he's going to score a load of goals. Like, I would very happily send Tyreek George to the Netherlands on loan to score 12 goals. I would be super happy with that. And then you can figure out, okay, he's grown into his body a little bit. Let's see. If you told me in 3 years he was a 15 goal a season scorer, I'd believe it. If you told me in 15 years he never quite kicked on and was like a 0.33 xg plus xa guy and he's just like lacking top end athleticism, I'd believe you. You know what I mean? But I think he's a superb ball striker. I think he's improved so much defensively. I don't love him as a 9. I think he's a much better winger than he is a 9. Um, I think when you look at his non-league minutes, so like against the cup games and the conference league games and so on, and like a lot of the European teams, you're broadly pretty happy with the output, I think. Like his conference league minutes I thought looked really good. So I don't know. Chris Cross is here, says Yokir up Ireland. Yes, we did celebrate earlier, which was pretty mental. I will it's very funny. So the game was very early my time. and my mother sends me a text at 8:01 a.m. the second Troy Parrott's goal goes in, and um, says this. Oh my God! What a fucky game! What a fucky games! Scored the win final set. Yeah, and then later, ole 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 ole, and then talking about she was watching it on RT and talking about people crying, which is hilarious. Um, Nico Schlotterbeck's deal is running down. I'd be interested in Schlotterbeck. I think he's very, very good. But I think you probably don't want to carry both Colwell and Badiashile. Did I ever talk about the Canadian Premier League final? No. Let's talk about it. Canadian Can PL, I think, something like that. What's their Canadian Premier League? CPL Soccer. So the final they played in like the most ridiculous snow. For anyone who didn't watch, this is after they plowed the snow. Okay, this is after they plowed the snow. I want to see the actual. I want to see the goal. Yeah, like the goalkeeper was shoveling the snow on the field. There's a time in Canada. Like this was the field, and they had to plow the line so you could see the line. And turn it into ice. It was a bit of a mess. However, at the end of full time, before it went to extra time, they stopped the game for 45 minutes to plow the pitch, and it took 45 minutes, and it killed all the momentum. They should have just kept playing in the snow. But it's very cool. I'm like broadly, I don't like the CPL very much. I think the level is very low. But I hope it survives. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. 1 billion people saw the bicycle kick in the snow. So I thought that was pretty dope. Chelsea. If Chelsea make the Champions League final, will I go? I don't know where the Champions League final is this year. I will say I've started getting tickets to all my matches. It's in Hungary. Probably let's see. Let's see. What was it? May 30th. Reno to Budapest. Round trip, May 30th. So I'd probably want to leave the 29th. I'd actually probably want to leave the 28th and then come back like if I just did a crazy trip. Let's see how ridiculous this would be. Yeah. Like we're tied. This is ridiculous. Actually, this is not that bad. Cheapest. Let's go. That's honestly not bad. Portland, then Frankfurt, and then Budapest. Like there are worse itineraries. That could be worse. I probably would not, but you never know. Adam Fitz says, "Where's my family from in Ireland?" My family is from a town called Cove. A town called Cove that is, if I zoom all the way in, this tiny little town is where my whole family is from. I played for Cove Ramblers when I lived there as a child. Where's the big where's the cathedral? We played at the little stadium that's like, here it is, St. Coleman's Park. This is where we played at the stadium there. And you can't be opening Google Maps. I know I keep doing this. I'm gonna dox my house. And I lived in like, I'm trying to remember where it was. I don't know. I lived like somewhere over here, but I can't remember exactly, to be honest with you. I'm sure it's very different now. But yeah, that's where I lived when I lived in Ireland, and that's where all my family is now. How did I support? How did I start supporting Chelsea? I started supporting Chelsea because all of my cousins were United or Liverpool fans. So I moved to Ireland from Canada. I did not watch soccer at all. I played as a little kid, but I didn't like have a team. And I moved to Ireland, and all my cousins had a fight over whether I would support Liverpool or I would support Arsenal. And my cousins bought me a Liverpool Michael Owen kit and a United Roy Keane kit. And they were like, you have to pick one and you have to piss on the other one. And I played along, and I went to a pub with my uncle and my cousins to watch Chelsea play United, and United won, or Chelsea won, rather. I think 3-0, maybe 4-0. And I was like, oh, I like that team. And they were the only blue team. And I was the only kid in my town who supported Chelsea. So I picked them, and I pissed on both kits as a 7-year-old. Yeah, that was my, and I was like, honestly, it was like they're blue and they're not their team. That was the whole thing, and I was the only kid in the whole town. And there was one kid who was a Spurs supporter as well. That I remember, and I remember him getting bullied because he was a Spurs supporter. Elliot Sherman started supporting Chelsea because his daughter was born in Westminster Hospital. That's lovely. I quite like that. Chris Cross had Damien Duff. Nima Does Fully had Lampard on FIFA. I'm actually very curious, like, because I look at like the YouTube thing, and it's like a lot of people from the UK, a lot of people from Canada, a lot of people from Nigeria, India, the US. I'm always curious how people not from England end up supporting Chelsea, or people from England but not from London, how they end up supporting Chelsea. That I always find interesting. I will say also, when I moved back to Canada, I had a um, I had a goalkeeper coach. Um, I had a goalkeeper coach who was a huge Chelsea fan, to the point that he named his daughter Chelsea when I was like 9 and 10. When I moved back to Canada, and he bought me they used to release, I imagine they still do, the like uh at the end of every season, like the book of the season for 2004, 2005, and 2005, 2006. So he bought me those as like a gift at the end of the season, and I was like, I'm in. I'm all the way in. And so now I've got lots of weird Chelsea things because of this. ZZ says, I googled it. It was Stephen Ireland, being from there. Yeah, he. I can't remember the connection, but my mother babysat him as a kid, or like knew his mom, or some. Everybody in that town knows everybody because it's small enough. The other like weird cove thing is that Mick McCarthy is technically my cousin, which I don't think I've said before. But yeah, Big Mick is technically my cousin. There is a picture somewhere in our family photo book of my mother and him at a Christmas party. Uh, Kesman, Lord Flaku. Kesman was a big deal in Serbia, and when he joined, I was like, yeah, sure, they look cool. I loved Mateja Kesman. That guy was so fun. That's a cool one. Lord Flaku, I'm curious who your Serbian team is, if you have a Serbian team. Are you a Red Star or a Partizan guy? I will tell you who my allegiance in Serbia is afterwards. Um, Opinions on Chelsea women recent form. We talked about them at the beginning of the other stream, but they are struggling. Lord Flacco is a Red Star fan. Crvena Zvezda. You are a Delia. I played with a lot of Serbian kids, so Red Star are nominally my Serbian team. I would like to go see a Red Star Partizan game in Belgrade. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Red Star baby, burning chairs in the crowd radicalized me. Yeah, I feel there used to be this show on Canadian television called Football Factories, and it was Yeah, it was Danny Dyer, and it was like I guess it was also on in the UK. No, but see, they did more than this. The they went to like they went to Poland and Argentina um and like the Czech Republic. Yeah, see, they did do it. There was another season, I guess. Yeah, and they went to like Poland and Brazil, and I remember all this stuff, and I was like, "Oh, this is the coolest thing ever." As a child, they used to show it in Canada. It was like as a kid on Saturday morning on Sportsnet, which was like the sports show, sports channel. You would get the 10 o'clock Premier League. You would get the 7 o'clock Premier League game. You would get the 10 o'clock Premier League game, and that was all you would get. You would get nothing else. And then on Sunday, you would get Serie A on the Score, and after Serie A on the Score, you would get episodes of the Real Football Factories with Danny Dyer. And so, like, imagine 11-year-old Kieran watching like Inter Messina in Syria. I have this vivid memory of when Inter had the kit with the red cross and it was white. This kit, 2007. So I was like, I think I was in grade 8. Yeah, this kit. And then it would be like this kit would be on, and they would smash someone 4-0, and then after it, it would be like Danny Dyer in the Czech Republic or whatever, holding an AK-47. Jared Bowen is dating Danny Dyer's daughter. I think actually they're married now, but yeah, that is what it is. Um, all right, we've been going for a while. Hit me with your last couple questions, and then we'll get out of here. Somebody asked for a pastry update. I got a bear claw, which was like it's like an almond pastry with there's like a cream filling, but this one they also put pears in it. So it was like frangipane and pears inside, and it was delightful. That was my pastry update for today. I also had it while I was watching Ireland because it was raining and miserable here. So I was like, oh, I'll go there. Adam Knows Ball says, "Are you Gen Z, Unk?" No, I'm 30, bro. I'm old. I'm an old head. ZZZ. Next, he's gonna say his Italian team of choice is Reggio Calabria. No, Inter are my Italian team. I did have like a when I was like 13 years old. I was like, I have to pick a team for every country, and and so I made a list for all the big leagues. I picked a team for every league. So like Toronto FC are my MLS team, Chelsea are my English team, Rangers are my Scottish team. Um, in Liga, it was Bordeaux, RIP, who no longer exist, or I think are in the fourth division now. In Italy, it was Inter. In Germany, it was Schalke. In Spain, it was Valencia. I'm trying to remember what other ones I had. In Brazil, I think it was Cruzeiro. In Mexico, it was Cruz Azul. Because there was a kid from Mexico who moved to my school who was a big Cruz Azul fan. So I like learned all the players in like 2011. Um, or I guess 2008 maybe. Uh, I'm trying to think what other countries I had a team for. I don't think I had a Turkish team. ZZZ, unfortunately. But that's how I picked all my teams. Most of them were just blue, and I was like, I'll pick the blue team. Yeah, Schalke, Valencia, Inter, Bordeaux. I remember being like the core four. Who do I think will finish fifth in the Prem? Who do I think will finish fifth in the Prem? Who do I think will finish fifth in the Prem? Probably United. I'll go United. Why not? Rangers, but your whole family is from Cuba. I didn't know anything about that. I was a child. I was a child. I also, as a child, skipped my confirmation because I was like, religion. I was like, I don't want to be in. This is dumb. I lived in Ireland and I didn't do my first communion because I was like, I'm not doing this. This seems stupid. Why? This is not the body. I remember being 7 years old and my teacher trying to explain to me that you do communion and that this is the body of Christ. And I was like, no, it's not. It's a piece of bread. And she was like, no, but it is. It's transubstantiation. And I was like, no, it's not. And she's like, no, but it is. It's the process. And I was like, no, it's a wafer, and it doesn't taste very good because they let us taste it. And I was like, I'm not doing this. This seems stupid. And then I got in a lot of trouble, but I never did it. So it is what it is. Do I think City have what it takes to win the Premier League? No, I think Arsenal are like 4 points seems like not a lot of points, and it's not. And my vague rule of thumb is however many points there are games left. So if there are 4 games left and it's 4 points, you're probably going to win the league, for example. So like a lot of time to make that up. But I just think Arsenal are really good. And I think City, if Haaland goes down, are super done. Like, I think they have nothing if Haaland goes down. Adam Fitz says, you missed on big money not doing your confirmation. Yeah, this is what I learned, was I didn't do my first communion, and then all my cousins did it, and all got like hundreds and hundreds of euros. And I was like, this is bullshit. I was like, I should have done it for the dough, and I didn't do it, and I was so upset. And I remember like I remember my cousins went to I think the store was called Mars Sports. I think it was called something like this. Permanently closed. And I remember like taking a trip into the city to go buy like a football, to go buy like the new Premier League ball, and all my cousins bought one and I couldn't get one because I had no money. It's so funny because I remembered this in my head as Mars, Mars, but like I've clearly remembered this as not that. That's really funny because that's the logo. That's what a weird kid thing to remember from 25 years ago. Yeah, I did. Have I done my confirmation now? No. Gabriella going down is a big problem for them though. Big problem for them. Somebody asked Tom Coley just wrote M, which is pretty funny. I don't know what that means, but I like it. How hyped would you be if we pull off Barca and Arsenal game? Well, listen, I'll be super hyped if you win both those games. I'll be even more hyped if you win them both and like deserve to win them, because that's like, I feel like I say this a lot, but it is genuinely a privilege to get to watch your team play in meaningful games against good teams, right? Like the Club World Cup final against PSG was awesome. Getting to watch Chelsea play against Barcelona in the Champions League, awesome. Getting to watch Chelsea play Arsenal in the Premier League when both teams are near the top of the table, and like a win for Chelsea, again, not to be dramatic, but a win for Chelsea puts them 3 points back of top of the table Arsenal. Like that's huge. Or 2 points back of top of the table City. Like big, or I guess not top of the table, but big consequences for the league. And it is genuinely a privilege. So like if we win, amazing. If we win and play well and deserve to win, unreal. I will also say like Cole Palmer is probably going to play against Burnley based on the reporting. I would not personally. I would probably do something like he plays the last 15 minutes against Barcelona if you need him to. Or like it makes sense to, like if you need him and the game's close or it's tied or whatever. And I'd play him like 30 minutes against Arsenal. Like I would be real conservative. I would be real conservative. But I like, let's say you come out of Burnley, Barcelona, Burnley, Burnley, Barcelona, Arsenal, and you win all three of those games. Very different tenor and approach to the season. Very different place in terms of your 12 games in. You look really good. Blah 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 blah. Elliot Sherman says Burnley early kickoff after an international break feels like the most overdetermined banana skin. Oh, it is a scheduled loss. But I think, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I would not play Caicedo in that game, by the way. He played like in the cold in Canada, would not play that game. Somebody asked me my lineup for Burnley. My team would be Sanchez. Sanchez, I would not start James, even though he only played the first game, but I would not start James because you're going to have to play him both Barcelona and Arsenal. But I would not start James. It would be Gusto. It would be Trev and Fofana again. And then it would be Cucurella. And then it would be Enzo deepest, which means like Enzo and Andre, I guess, and Andre is deepest. And then probably, I don't even know. You just get to a point where like there's not enough bodies and somebody has to play. Like Caicedo's going to play. I say he shouldn't play, but he's going to play. And then I'd probably go Delap, João Pedro 10. I'd actually probably go João Pedro 10, Neto 9, Estevao, and Garnacho, or Garnacho and Gittins. I don't know. You just get to a point like you need bodies. So we'll see. We will see. We will see. But I don't know. I'm excited, and I'm excited for all these games. I'm going to 100% be there for Bournemouth. Villa, I have not sorted things out yet. But hopefully both. I'm also going to be at United Newcastle. I'm also going to be at let me see the games that I have that I've already sorted. I am going to be at Bolton, Rotherham, and then United Newcastle the same day. And then I will hopefully be at Villa the next day. And then I will be at AFC, and then Palace Spurs I'm trying to go. I haven't sorted tickets yet for. Wimbledon, Exeter is on the calendar. Charlton, Coventry is on the calendar. And we'll see what other ones I get to. Oliver says, how do you get tickets? Is it normally through a membership? Yeah, you have to get a membership, and then people can give them to you, or you can do the exchange and whatever. That's the whole thing. Better, it's Bolton Rotherham is an insane game to fly for. So I get in on Christmas Day, and then on the Monday, or on Boxing Day, driving up to, because I did not know the trains don't run on Boxing Day. This was a thing I learned. Driving up to see Bolton Rotherham at the Reebok, which is no longer the Reebok, but the Reebok is like a classic Premier League stadium in my head. And then see United Newcastle because I'm going with a friend who is a United fan. We're hoping to see Carrington, to get a tour of Carrington. Word on the street, we'll see. Also hoping to get a tour of Cobham. Heard words on the street that may or may not happen. We'll see. Asking around, putting in the plugs. You know how it is. Uh, Paragraph says got the Como contract, which is funny. We'll see. Roshan says I feel like Burnley's a good Josh game. Yeah, totally. I'd be down for that. Play Josh at right back and Gusto in midfield. There you go. How soon are we going to see Palmer and Estevao start together? Whenever Palmer is fit and Estevao has more time. We'll see. Did Bro become a scout? No, I'm just going to see as many games as possible when I go. This is the thing. Like, it's very far for me to get there. It's very far. So, like, I want to see as many games as I can while I'm there. So that's the main thing. Get as many matches in as you can. It's annoying because like the way to do that is go over the Christmas period because it's all condensed. But then over the Christmas period, there's no PL2, and there's no women's football. So like I've still never seen Chelsea women play because they don't play, and I only go at Christmas. So that's kind of rubbish, but we'll see. What is one IT Cure thing you shouldn't tell us, but maybe will? Probably nothing, because if I shouldn't tell you, I won't tell you. I'm not. No, there's no what's it called? Bird food around here. No, nothing. Nothing. I don't think there's anything. I don't think I know anything fun right now. I actually haven't heard anything for a while, which is kind of weird. MLS. There's lots of weird MLS stuff. People want to know weird MLS things. We can talk about MLS things. I got a lot of weird MLS things, but nobody cares about like. Nobody cares what Real Salt Lake are doing with their off-season strategy. Nobody cares about that. Thoughts on the Denier Ordonez signing? He's young enough that I don't care. Better out schedule change. You're right. You asked about this a few times. So for those who don't know, MLS is a league that has played February to December as long as they've existed. And they are moving to align their calendar with everybody else in the world. So starting in 2027, they will play a summer to spring format. So they will play starting at the end of July. They will take a break for December and January, and then they will continue from February on, and the season will end in May. There are a few benefits to them on this. One, so there you go. So they will take half of December, all of January, and the first half of February off, and they will play the playoffs in May. There are two benefits to this. Benefit number one is from a transfer market perspective, MLS has often had a really, really big problem with the summer transfer window being in the middle of their season. And because of that, you get like key players come in or leave at the end of August, and you're fucked. Like Real Salt Lake sold their best player last year at the end of the summer window for a huge amount of money, and it torpedoed their season. But it was so much money they couldn't say no. It's like one of those situations. The other benefit is that the playoffs right now take place across the months of October, November, December. So they get hit by not one, but two international breaks. So the playoffs start right after the October international break. But between rounds 1 and 2 is the November international break. So a club like New York City lost their best player to an ACL tear playing for Costa Rica in this international break, and it ruins the flow of everything. And then in December, if the MLS Cup is in a cold place in December, it is horrific. Everybody puts up with it because it's MLS Cup. I don't think they're going to put up with that for regular games. The other part of this is like the playoffs also won't go up against NFL. A big part of this is they really want to avoid going up against NFL because they just get destroyed on the TV ratings by NFL. So we will see. They also like there will be less conflict with international breaks and blah 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 blah. Net, I think it's probably a good call. In the meantime, I think there's some drawbacks. Like this winter break for 40% of the league is not long enough. Like you could not play league games in Toronto and Minnesota and Montreal and New York and Vancouver. Vancouver's inside, so you can do whatever, but Portland, Seattle, so on, so on, so on, in December and February. Like it's not realistic. So what will happen is those teams will have really stupid schedules where they won't play at home at all for the whole middle of the season. I think that's bad. The other is like they claim this will help their growth. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Let's see, but I think it'll probably be net worth it overall. What's the most inconsequential tea I could spill? The most inconsequential tea I could spill is that um the striker that a USL League One team is going to sign. But I won't spill that because I don't do it. I have some interesting NWSL tea, but that's time. I will be at the NWSL final next weekend, so there won't be a stream next weekend because I will be in San Francisco for that game. I'll be in San Jose for that game. So no stream next weekend. I will be at that game. Elliot Sherman says we're buying Casapia. That is what we decided. That's the other thing that I'm trying to navigate with my director of football save because I got to add multi-club stuff in to do it. I might just do it on FM24 at some point because it's much easier to do when I know how to do it. We'll see. Anyways, we're gonna call it a day there. There will be a podcast episode later. Better says, do you think there's a way that MLS could embrace relegation? No, because there isn't the culture of watching lower league football the way there is in Europe. And the other part of it is that the MLS teams have paid $350 million for admission to the league, and there's just no way that they would be like, well, hold on, we can go down a division and now our club is worth nothing. Like that doesn't make sense to us. So, no, I don't. The short answer is no. Anyways, we'll call it there. There will be a podcast episode later. There will be a podcast episode later with kind of going through all the data from the 1/3-ish mark and what I think is going to happen and what to make of it. It'll be a short episode. But I wish we could have watched all of Germany, Bolivia. Unfortunately, we couldn't. But yeah, that kind of sucks. I would have liked to do that. Anyways, we'll wrap it all there. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hopefully we have fun against Burnley next weekend. And as always, enjoy the soccer.